Welcome back to the deep dive. If you've been trying to keep up with AI lately, it can feel like you're just drowning in information.
So much theory.
So much theory, endless buzzwords, and these really abstract debates about what an AI agent even is. And for those of us who actually need to build things or, prepare for a business meeting tomorrow, it's just not helpful.
Exactly.
You're not looking for speculation. You need blueprints. You need practical, deployable tools you can look at and say, okay, I can build that.
And that's exactly the mission for this deep dive. We're cutting through all of that noise. We're going straight to the architecture.
I'm glad to hear it.
We're going to unpack the specific structural blueprints for 10, and I mean 10 distinct professional-grade AI agents. These cover highly regulated fields like finance and law, but also creative industries, education, media.
And this is all based on real examples.
All of it. It's drawn from these incredibly detailed case studies in a text called Deployable AI Agents. 10 practical case studies.
10 actual buildable agents. That's invaluable. Okay, so before we jump into the details of, say, tax law or courtroom scripts, let's define our terms. What do you mean by a blueprint in this context? Because the structure here feels really important.
It's absolutely key. To really get what makes an agent deployable, you have to look past the large language model itself.
Yeah.
The LLM is just the brain.
Right.
We're looking for 4 critical elements. For every single agent we cover, we're going to break down its precise purpose. What specific problem is it solving?
Okay.
Then, the specialized tools used. These are the hands, the components that let it actually do things beyond just talking.
Like calculations or searching a specific file.
Exactly. Then the step-by-step workflow it follows, which is the sequence of operations.
Yeah.
And finally, the outputs, the tangible professional things it actually produces.
I see. So the big takeaway here isn't just that an agent can, write an email. It's that these things are sophisticated orchestrators.
That's the perfect word.
They're combining different modes, reasoning, calculation, search, generation, to create these outputs that aren't just informative. They're ready to go. They're deployable.
Precisely. They are fully integrated, multi-step pipelines.
Okay, let's unpack this.
All right.
We have to start where the stakes are the absolute highest. Finance and compliance.
No room for error.
None. When you're dealing with regulations, accuracy isn't a feature, it's the whole point.
Yeah.
The AI has to be auditable, it has to be precise. And that brings us right to our first case study, which operates in a really complex regulatory space.
Right. Case study 1, the PakFiler AI tax assistant.
Okay.
This agent is a textbook example of using AI for something absolutely mission critical. Its purpose is to automate Pakistani tax filing. And the number one priority is mandatory accuracy.
Yeah.
It has to adhere to Federal Board of Revenue or FBR regulations.
So this is light years away from just filling in a form.
Oh, absolutely. This is real-time rule interpretation. It has to translate those complex rules into standardized, legally binding documents.
That immediately sounds risky. I mean, tax law changes constantly. You can't just rely on general knowledge baked into a model.
You can't. And that's why the tool stack is so critical. It's what allows the agent to operate in such a rigid high-consequence system.
So what's in the toolbox?
First and foremost, it relies on a Python tool. And this isn't just for, basic scripting. This is the component that does all the mandatory calculations with audited precision. It generates the tax sheets in the exact required format.
Okay, precision calculation. Check. What else?
Second, and this is crucial, web integration. The agent needs to source the absolute latest FBR rules and updates in real time. Without a guarantee of data freshness, the agent is basically useless, potentially dangerous even.
Wait, I have to challenge that a little bit. A general web tool sounds a bit loose for FBR rules. How does it know the source is reliable? How does it handle a rule from last year versus one published yesterday? Is it just scraping?
That is a fantastic question, and it gets right to the heart of deployability. The source material makes it clear it's not just a blind web scrape. The web tool is paired with a specific validation module.
Ah.
So when it retrieves a rule, it also checks the publication date in the source against a pre-approved list of authorized government websites. If the source is wrong or the date is too old, the validation step fails. The agent stops and it flags for a human to look at it.
Okay, that makes so much more sense. It's authorized sourcing, not just searching. That mitigates a huge amount of risk.
Exactly. Then you have a couple other tools. An automations tool, which handles things like setting filing reminders or pushing updates to a calendar.
The utility stuff.
Right. And finally, a tool called canmore. In this case, canmore acts as let's call it the narrative synthesis engine. It takes all the numbers and the rules and turns them into a professional, readable summary report for the taxpayer.
Got it. So let's walk through that workflow. The order of operations must be critical here.
It's built for auditability. Step 1, it takes in the taxpayer's data, standard stuff. Okay.
But step 2 is crucial. Validate entries. Before it does any math, it does an internal audit. It checks for missing fields, weird data formats. It makes sure everything lines up with FBR requirements. Garbage in, garbage out is not an option here.
It flags errors early. I like that.
Then step 3, calculate income and tax. That's the Python tool doing the heavy lifting. Step 4, generate the FBR-ready summary using canmore and Python, then setting reminders. And then the final step, step 6,
Which is?
providing an accountant review section.
Let's focus on that.
Yeah.
If the agent is so accurate, why mandate that final human check? Isn't that an admission that it's not fully deployable?
It's a discussion about risk tolerance and accountability. In a field like this, 100% autonomy isn't even desirable.
Why not?
Because the final legal accountability, the signature on the form, rests with a human. The agent is a hyper-efficient assistant. It does 99% of the process.
The validation, the calculation, the summarizing, all of it. It reduces what might take an accountant hours of prep work down to maybe 15 minutes of verification. The cost is negligible for a massive efficiency gain while keeping that professional accountability.
That sets a really clear boundary for AI in finance. It's an assistant, not a replacement.
And the outputs reflect that. You get the tax computation sheet, a clean PDF summary, and a filing checklist to make sure no procedural step gets missed by the human.
Okay, that's a very clear picture.
Yeah.
So let's shift gears. We're moving from rigid compliance to something more forward-looking. Strategic planning.
A totally different challenge.
This is about synthesizing market data, creating actionable steps. It's creative ideation mixed with hard financial foresight.
And that brings us to case study 4, the startup playbook agent. This one is modeled on work by Zane Merritt.
The purpose here seems pretty clear.
It is. Its core purpose is to be an end-to-end planning tool for entrepreneurs. It's designed to help you plan, launch, and scale a new venture. It has to connect that abstract vision with a concrete execution plan.
Which means the tools for strategy have to be broader. It's not just about compliance anymore.
Right. The blend is really sophisticated here. It starts with ChatGPT reasoning for the high-level strategic thinking. Brainstorming, validating the core idea, running through scenarios.
The abstract stuff.
Then it brings in Python, but used specifically for building robust financial models. Your P&L, your cash flow projections.
And it has to be grounded in reality, so I'm guessing web search comes back into play.
Absolutely. The web tool is essential for real-time market research, competitive analysis, getting industry benchmarks. It anchors the whole strategy in data. But the really critical architectural piece here is its ability to integrate with external platforms.
What do you mean?
It connects directly with an external Notion database for tracking, for assigning tasks.
Oh, that's the key. That's what makes it deployable. The agent knows the plan isn't a static document you just print out. It creates a live operational asset that you actually use to run the project.
It creates accountability. The plan immediately becomes a living, managed system.
So what's the strategic workflow look like?
It's comprehensive. Step 1, gather the business idea. Step 2, analyze the target market. This is that validation step using the web tool.
And I noticed that comes before writing the business plan.
It has to. It's an efficiency check.
Yeah.
If the market analysis shows the niche is saturated or just not viable, the agent can stop the process right there. It saves you from writing a 50-page plan for an idea that was dead on arrival.
Smart. Validation before generation.
Then it moves on. Create the business plan, build the pitch deck, and finally provide the marketing strategy.
So the outputs for action are really ready to go.
Completely. You get a full business blueprint, a polished investor deck, and most importantly, a highly actionable 90-day launch plan that's already populated in your Notion database with tasks and metrics.
Fantastic. So we've seen high precision calculation and long-term strategy. Now, let's pivot completely. Let's move into the legal field. This is a whole different challenge, right? It's about rigorous document handling, precedent retrieval, specialized formatting.
A different kind of intellectual and structural problem for an agent to solve. For sure.
Which brings us to case study 5, the legal argument builder agent.
Right. The purpose of this agent is to help lawyers prepare these rigorous, written legal arguments. It's basically automating the most time-consuming research and drafting tasks that you'd normally give to a junior associate.
Okay. To do that well, it needs to access 2 kinds of knowledge, right? The firm's private case library and public recent rulings. That sounds like a pretty advanced search problem.
It is, and the information retrieval tools are built for that. It uses a file search tool, which is designed specifically to access a firm's internal stored case law,
Their institutional knowledge.
their secret sauce. It has to be grounded in the firm's history. But you're right, the law is always changing, so that is paired with a standard web tool to pull the most recent public judgments that might not be in the internal system yet.
You know, that file search tool, that feels like the key difference between a generic chatbot and a real professional grade agent. It's that specialized knowledge index layer.
It is. The agent is useless if it doesn't know the firm's history or its specific jurisdiction. The reasoning is only as good as the domain-specific data it can pull.
So the workflow has to mimic how a lawyer actually thinks when building a case. What are those analytical steps?
The analytical workflow is very logical. It starts by extracting the legal issues from the initial prompt. Then it retrieves relevant precedents using both search tools.
The research phase.
Right. But then it does something really interesting. Step 3 is compare contradictions.
What does that mean?
It doesn't just list the cases. It actively highlights ambiguities or conflicting rulings between precedents. It points out the potential weaknesses in an argument before you've even fully built it.
So it's a strategic partner. It's showing you where the other side might attack.
Exactly. Then it structures the arguments, and finally the most important step for deployability. Format, according to high court standards.
That last step is everything. If the output needs an hour of manual reformatting, you've lost the efficiency gain. The agent has to understand not just the content, but the bureaucracy of the institution.
Yes, compliance includes presentation. The agent isn't just generating text, it's providing structure validation. The document it produces is ready to be filed.
The amount of mental energy and just drudgery this saves a junior lawyer is immense. So the outputs are basically instantly usable assets.
Completely. You get an issue-wise argument, a fully indexed precedent list for citations, and the crucial conclusion and prayer section, all formatted perfectly.
Okay, now let's do another pivot and show the versatility here. We've seen deep legal rigor. Now let's talk about narrative transformation.
This is a really cool one, case study 3, the true courtroom stories agent.
So it takes those dense, technical legal judgments.
And it turns them into engaging mass-market media content. This is the AI as a media producer.
The purpose then is to bridge that gap between technical documents and public storytelling.
Exactly. It transforms real judgments into ready-to-use podcast scripts or YouTube episodes. It dramatizes the facts without fictionalizing them.
How does an AI do that? How does it find the story in 100 pages of legal jargon? It needs to understand drama.
It does. And the workflow for dramatization is all about narrative structure. First, you upload the judgment. Then the agent extracts the core facts. The who, what, where, when.
A basics.
But then comes the magic. Step 3 is identify turning points. This is the narrative engine. The agent doesn't just summarize, it uses its reasoning to find the moments of tension, the big reveal, the unexpected twist, the dramatic hook.
The story angle.
The story angle. Then it creates a dramatic storytelling script around those points. And it even generates concept for a thumbnail.
Wait, let's go back to identify turning points. How does an AI do that? Is it just looking for keywords, like surprisingly, or is it doing something more sophisticated?
It's the latter. It's inferring consequence. A human lawyer reads a document to find the legal pivot point. This agent is reading it to find the narrative pivot point, the moment where the facts shifted the outcome or where a human mistake changed everything.
The moment the listener's expectation is either violated or fulfilled.
That's it. It's using the LLM's predictive capacity, but for narrative structure, not just text. It's proof the agent understands story, not just data points.
And so the media outputs are truly production ready.
A ready-to-record script, an SEO description to help people find it online, and that initial thumbnail design concept to give the creative team a starting point.
Let's quickly jump back to the startup world for a second, but with a different focus. Not the whole business plan, but just that critical moment of communication, the investor pitch.
High-stakes communication, case study 8, the investor pitch deck generator agent.
The purpose here is all about that final deliverable. Automating a professional presentation that has to blend visuals, data, and a compelling story.
And often under extreme time pressure.
So the tools for presentation have to be multimodal. It's not just text.
Exactly. This is a communication pipeline. It uses Python to generate accurate charts and graphs directly from financial data. No more copying and pasting into Excel and hoping you didn't make a mistake.
Thank goodness.
It uses Imagen to create high-quality slide graphics and branded visuals, and Canmore comes back, But here it's used to construct the narrative arc of the deck, making sure the slides tell a coherent, persuasive story.
Walk us through that storytelling workflow.
It starts by collecting the business data. But then step 2 is crucial. Generate the storyline. It decides on the flow, problem, solution, market, team, the ask, before it writes a single slide.
Structure first.
Always. Then it creates the slide-by-slide content based on that story. It adds the visuals using the other tools. And finally, it exports the final deck in a ready-to-present format.
That move from data to storyline really confirms the agent's role as a complex content orchestrator. It's acting like a specialized communications expert.
It is. It makes sure the data isn't just dumped on the screen. It's presented in a narrative context that an investor can actually connect with.
Amazing. Okay, so we've hit finance and law. Now let's move into a space where AI promises just profound change, personalized education, and cognitive enhancement.
This is where things get really interesting, I think.
In education, one-size-fits-all just doesn't work. Personalization is everything. So we're looking at agents designed to not just deliver information, but to customize the entire learning experience.
And often across different languages and using advanced memory techniques. This brings us to case study 2, the Quranic education agent.
A very complex and nuanced subject.
Immensely. The purpose here is to teach complex concepts, stories, morals, and logic from the Quran in a way that is accessible, ethical, and appropriate for a really diverse, often young audience.
That sounds incredibly challenging. You have deep, abstract subject matter, and you need to make it understandable across different cultures and languages. How does the agent handle that?
It requires a very specialized tool, ChatGPT bilingual reasoning. The agent has to explain these concepts in simple Urdu and simple English. And this isn't just a direct translation.
No, it can't be.
It's conceptual simplification paired with linguistic localization. It's bridging two different kinds of complexity at the same time.
And to make the lessons engaging, especially for kids, what are the tools for accessibility?
It uses canmore again, but this time as a pedagogical tool to generate professional lesson plans. And critically, it uses Imagen, but with a very specific instruction: generate illustrations for children.
So it's not just any image, it's contextually appropriate, safe, digestible for that specific audience?
Exactly. It needs that extra layer of instruction.
So what does the workflow for pedagogy look like? It needs to feel like a real teaching process.
It does. It follows a classic educational sequence. You provide an ayat, or a topic. The bilingual reasoning engine explains it simply. Then it generates examples to make it relatable.
Applicant.
Right. Then it creates exercises and stories to embed the lesson through active learning. And finally, it produces worksheets as a tangible output.
The emphasis on examples and stories there, that's the agent modeling what a good teacher actually does. It's not just reciting facts.
It understands the need for context. So the outputs are a complete teaching package, a full lesson plan, workbook tasks, and those visual diagrams tailored for kids.
Now let's talk about an agent that's focused on true cognitive enhancement, teaching students how to learn.
This is the Memory Mastery Coach Agent, Case Study 7.
So its purpose is to teach high-level skills, study techniques, basically acting as a personal cognitive trainer.
Yes, things like spaced repetition, active recall. But crucially, this agent isn't about a one-time lesson. It's about personalized, sustained tracking and behavioral change over a long period.
That requires something most language models don't have: long-term memory about the user. The source material mentions a unique tool here that really stands out.
It does. It highlights the use of a bio tool. And this isn't just a database. Architecturally, the bio tool is the persistent state layer.
The agent's long-term memory.
It's specific memory about you. It tracks your cognitive profile,
Yeah.
your learning weaknesses, your performance on tests, your consistency over weeks and months. This is what unlocks genuinely personalized coaching.
That is a phenomenal insight. A truly deployable agent in a field like this must have a persistent memory of the user's history to be effective. It's what makes it an agent and not just a generator.
It gives it temporal continuity. The ChatGPT reasoning part still generates the advice, but that advice is filtered through the data held by the bio tool.
So the workflow for coaching must be designed for continuous improvement.
It is. It's an accountability loop. Identify learning goals, build a personalized study plan based on your past performance, teach the techniques, and then, the most important part, a weekly review.
The feedback loop.
It uses the BioTools data to assess your progress and then dynamically adjust next week's plan. It's not static, it evolves with you.
So the outputs are all about measurable progress.
Exactly. You get a personalized study plan, a weekly tracker that's fed by your data, and a glossary of memory techniques so you understand the science behind what you're doing.
That bio tool really drives home the specialization needed for these things. Okay, we've covered analysis, compliance, personalized learning. What happens when agents move into purely creative production and cultural localization, where aesthetics and nuance are everything?
This is where we see entire pipelines being automated.
Let's start with case study 6, the AI website builder agent.
The purpose here is incredibly ambitious. It's about generating the full website structure and all the content, a complete digital presence in a box.
That's a huge scope. It's not one document, it's a whole ecosystem of content. What does that workflow look like?
It's a full deployment pipeline. You collect the business info. Then it suggests a sitemap, which is a critical structural step for user experience.
Home, about, services, that kind of thing.
Right. Then it writes all the pages using what the source calls canmore, multi-page writing. This is important because it means the agent keeps the tone and style consistent across all the different pages.
That's a big deal. You don't want your About Us page to sound like it was written by a different person than your FAQ page.
Consistency is the hallmark of professional output. Then it provides images using Imagen, specifically for things like hero banners. And finally, it suggests a design layout and styling.
I noticed the source material also mentions external tools here.
It does. It notes integration with things like Canva for finalizing graphics and Vercel for hosting, which highlights a key truth. Deployable agents don't exist in a vacuum. They plug into the existing human-led industry pipelines.
So the outputs are a complete launch kit.
Everything you need. All the core pages, a branding kit with colors and fonts, and deployment-ready content that you can push live immediately.
Okay, now let's focus just on the visual side. The iterative process of design, the creative design agent.
Case study 10. The purpose is to generate immediate, usable creative assets. Think book covers, social media ads, branding elements. The agent has to act like a creative director.
And the tool stack seems to combine multiple visual engines. Why not just rely on one?
Because no single model is perfect for everything. It leverages Imagen as its core, but it integrates with Canva for post-processing and text overlays, and with Leonardo AI to pull in different styles or capabilities. It's about blending the best of each tool for professional fidelity.
The workflow for iteration is what I'm interested in. Design is so subjective. How does the agent handle that without getting stuck in an endless loop of revisions?
It builds in a critical filtering step right at the beginning. After it collects the theme, step 2 is provide 3 design concepts.
It gives you choices.
It gives you choices. It knows raw generation isn't enough. It makes you a collaborative partner. You pick a direction, and then it generates the final visuals based on your choice.
That one step probably saves hours. It turns it from a generator into a creative partner.
Then it provides a color palette and prepares versions specifically for different social media platforms, adjusting aspect ratios and so on.
Very smart. Okay, our final case study, the multilingual translator agent.
Case study 9. Its purpose is to translate and localize content, focusing on Urdu and English, but with real cultural nuance.
And we have to emphasize that this is beyond literal translation. This is localization. What's an example of something literal translation would miss?
Oh, idioms, humor, professional titles. A legal term translated word for word might lose its actual legal meaning. A formal business greeting might suddenly sound way too casual or even rude.
So how does the agent compensate?
It uses that specialized ChatGPT bilingual reasoning again, but it's paired with file search to look at historical translations of similar documents, like legal petitions. It learns from precedent to preserve context.
So it's a cultural consultant, not just a dictionary. The workflow for nuance must reflect that.
It does. It adds the steps a human localization expert would. It does the initial translate, but then it has a separate step to adjust for tone and professionalism. And a final, high-value step. Add cultural context, where it modifies idioms or references to make sure they land correctly.
Which makes the output immediately deployable in an international business setting. And the specific outputs reflect that need.
Yes. You get dual language versions, but you also get things like plain language legal or medical explanations, which are critical when translating, say, a doctor's instructions for a patient.
We've just dissected 10 incredible AI blueprints. We've seen everything from regulatory compliance to generating entire websites. The source material is very clear that these aren't just 10 random ideas.
No, they're 10 structural frameworks. And the synthesis section of the material really brings it all together, highlighting 4 common characteristics across all of them.
Let's review those key takeaways.
Right.
What's the first one?
First, they all offer real, demonstrable applications. They solve tangible problems. We're talking about FBR tax sheets and ready-to-record podcast scripts, not theoretical possibilities.
And the process is clear enough to be audited.
Which is the second characteristic. Actionable, step-by-step workflows. Every agent follows a structured, logical sequence that ensures repeatability and auditability, which is non-negotiable for professional tools.
And their ability to do things comes from the specialized components.
That's number 3. Practical, diverse tool combinations. The core of the agent is its power to orchestrate these tools: the Python calculator, the canmore writer, the biomemory, the image artist. The LLM is the mind, but the tools are the hands and eyes.
And that combination of tools produces high-quality deliverables.
Exactly. The fourth characteristic is the creation of multimodal pipelines leading to professional, deployable outputs. The end result is never just a suggestion. It's a tax sheet, a pitch deck, a formatted legal argument.
So what does this all mean for the bigger picture? The source material makes a pretty bold claim about how many agents you could build from just these 10 examples.
It does. And this is the powerful realization. Each case study is a duplicable template. It's a framework you can adjust to build literally hundreds of specialized AI agents.
How so?
Well, if you can build the tax agent for Pakistan's FBR rules, the underlying architecture reasoning plus calculation plus memory plus web verification is identical for building a compliance agent for HMRC in the UK or the IRS in the US.
It's a framework for infinite specialization. You just need to identify the industry-specific tools and the local rules, and you can deploy the template.
And that really finalizes the concept of what an AI agent is. It's a highly specialized project manager. It takes a complex human task and orchestrates the execution across its diverse toolbox. The language model provides the reasoning, but the tools provide the capabilities. That's the difference between theory and deployability.
This has been an incredible deep dive. It's clear that these deployable agents are defined by their ability to execute these complex workflows using very specific, named tools. We saw how much they rely on components like canmore as a narrative engine, or bio for that crucial persistent memory.
The power isn't just in the raw intelligence of the base model. It's in the model's curated access to that interconnected toolbox. That's what separates a general chatbot from a deployable, revenue-generating agent.
So based on everything we've covered, the rigor, the need for memory, the complexity of localization, the question for you, the listener, to explore is this. If the real power of a game-changing AI agent lies in its specialized toolbox, which tool is missing from this list that your specific industry must have to build a truly deployable agent?
Think about it. What are the unique calculations, the proprietary software, the regulated data that only your field uses? If you can identify that functional gap, you've just identified the next specialized tool that needs to be built to unlock automation in your entire sector.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the blueprint of practical AI agents.
Until next time.